The snake and the monk, a snake carrying hatred from a past life, an old monk with infinite compassion, and a fateful encounter that could dissolve 1,000 years of karma. This is not just a story about cause and effect. It's a journey to find light amidst the deepest darkness. The dawn had just broken, and mist still veiled the mountain paths. Tiny droplets sparkled like pearls on lotus leaves under the morning sun. Along a small trail winding through the hillside, an elderly monk walked serenely, fingering a string of prayer beads and silently chanting Buddha's name. Each step was as light as a drifting cloud. His gaze was gentle, his calloused feet firm, as if he moved through life without clinging to anything. The monk's name was Kind Heart, abbot of a humble temple called Silent Horizon Temple, hidden among bamboo groves and pine trees, far from worldly crowds. Each day, he meditated, chanted sutras, tended the garden, and made alms rounds in a nearby village. One morning, while returning from his alms round, Kind Heart heard a hoarse hissing from the thicket. He paused. There lay a large snake, writhing in agony, its body riddled with wounds, blood soaking the dry leaves. Anyone else might have fled, but Kind Heart did not hesitate. He approached slowly, careful not to frighten the creature. The snake raised its head, wary but weak. Its breaths were shallow, death seemed close. "You need not fear," the monk said softly, as if soothing a frightened child. "Hatred and anger have brought endless suffering to countless beings. But if you wish to live, allow me to help." He ground some medicinal herbs and gently dressed the snake's wounds. His hands trembled slightly, but his eyes radiated infinite compassion. The snake did not resist. It seemed to sense the monk's pure heart. Over the days, Kind Heart nursed the snake tenderly, not as a fearsome beast, but as a suffering soul. He even gave it a name, Lotus Spirit, believing that even venomous creatures, if touched by compassion, could bloom like a lotus. One morning, Lotus Spirit slithered into the forest and disappeared. Gone, just as hatred sometimes quietly retreats into the shadows. Yet the seeds of compassion Kind Heart planted remained. 30 years passed, like a long breath in meditation. Silent Horizon Temple grew quieter. Kind Heart, now frail, with hair and beard as white as autumn clouds, still sat beneath the ancient Bodhi tree, dedicating his prayers to all beings, including Lotus Spirit. Unbeknownst to him, in a faraway village, a child was born during a violent thunderstorm. The mother died giving birth. The father vanished. Villagers whispered of bad omens, the newborn's blood-red eyes, the spiral-shaped birthmark like snake scales on his arm. An old blind woman took him in, naming him Kai, hoping he would forge a different destiny. Kai grew up shunned. Children avoided him, feared him. But he was brilliant, absorbing knowledge effortlessly. He could sit motionless in the woods for hours, still as a serpent lying in wait. At times, in his nightmares, he would scream in inhuman tongues, shaking as if tormented by ancient agony. The blind woman would soothe him. "My child, perhaps you were once a wounded soul, but if you live virtuously, light will find you." But within Kai, shadows whispered. Something deep, something old. At 18, after his adoptive grandmother passed away, Kai left the village. Her final words echoed in his mind. "If rage consumes you, seek the one who once saved your soul. He holds light in the palm of his hand." He wandered for days, for months. Each land he crossed felt strangely familiar, like places he had once crawled through, not as a man, but something else. Finally, before him stood a bamboo forest and a mossy gate bearing 4 words, Silent Horizon Temple. The gate creaked open. The bamboo whispered like 1,000 lost souls. Kai stepped through, heart pounding with fear and an inexplicable warmth. The temple was silent. Under the Bodhi tree, an old monk meditated. Kai approached. The closer he came, the fiercer a fire burned in his chest. Not hatred, but something deeper. When he was just steps away, the monk opened his eyes. A gaze, infinite, gentle, as if he had been waiting all along. "You have come," said Kind Heart. "I knew you would return." Kai stammered. You know me?" "Not new, remembered," said the monk. "From the day I bandaged a wounded snake, I prayed daily that soul would find the light." Those words pierced the fog in Kai's mind. Memories flooded back, forests, blood, pain, the brown-robed man's kind eyes. Kai screamed, collapsed, convulsed violently. Deep within, a giant snake howled, not for vengeance, but for liberation. The old monk remained still. Eyes closed, he softly chanted, Namo Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. The sacred sounds flowed like cool water. Kai's body gradually stilled. Tears burst from his red eyes. He wept, not in defeat, but in remembrance. That night, Kai stayed. The old monk lit incense before the statue of Amitabha Buddha. Karma cannot be escaped, child, he said. But just as a snake sheds its skin through pain, so too can a soul transform. Kai said nothing. For the first time, his heart felt lighter. From that day, Kai lived at the temple. Every morning, he swept leaves, cooked rice, chanted sutras. The rage inside him still stirred, but he learned to bow to it, to breathe through it, to not be consumed. One day in the village marketplace, he saw a man beating an old dog. Blood, screams, pain. The rage ignited again. Kai lunged forward, tore the stick away, struck the man in anger. The market froze. Children stared at him with fear. He dropped the stick, stumbled back. That night he sat in the dark. Kind heart poured him tea without speaking. Finally the monk said, "You were not wrong to defend the weak. You only erred when you let instinct overpower mindfulness." "I can't stop the blood boiling inside me," Kai whispered. Kind heart smiled gently. "You were once a snake, but today you wept for a dog. That is the beginning of a bodhisattva." Kai wept. He vowed, every time rage rose he would kneel and whisper, "The mind must be like still water. Even if a snake swims through, the water holds no reflection." 3 years passed, the mountain winds still blew, bamboo still whispered, and within Kai a silent battle raged on. Until one night, chanting alone, he heard a hiss from the depths of his soul. "Have you forgotten the one who killed me?" Memories surged, the hunter's blows, the agony. The hunter was Old Tom, a blind man now living near the mountain's base. The next day Kai visited him. He brought a dagger, the hunter's old blade. Old Tom, frail and blind, spoke, "If the snake still lives, I hope it knows I regret." Kai wept. He drove the dagger into the earth, not into flesh. He bowed deeply before the old man. That night, Kind Heart asked, "Which path did you choose?" Kai knelt and said, "I chose not to kill." "Then you have slain one snake, the one inside yourself." Seasons passed. Kai grew serene, no longer striving for liberation, just living, gardening, chanting, smiling. One autumn evening, Kind Heart summoned him. On the table, a small wooden box. Inside, the old snakeskin lotus spirit had shed long ago. "I kept it," Kind Heart said, "to remind myself, nothing lasts, only the heart remains." Kai bowed deeply. In that moment, he was no longer Kai nor snake, but simply a soul walking through impermanence. A winter later, Kind Heart passed peacefully in meditation. On his table a letter, "Kai, you owe me nothing. Live this life without sowing hatred. That is your redemption, and your offering to the Dharma." Years later, a nameless monk wandered mountain villages, teaching mindfulness, healing with herbs, sharing tea and smiles. When asked his name, he simply said, "I once was a snake, but now I rest like a droplet on a lotus leaf." The villagers called him many names, Monk Kai, Monk Heart, Monk Snake. But all who met him remembered one thing, a gaze so deep, so still, as if it had traveled through 1,000 lifetimes, just to offer a cup of tea and a smile.